When the final messenger came and showed me the loss of my children, I was deeply disturbed, and I tore my garments, saying to the one who brought the report, "How were you spared?" And then when I understood what had happened, I cried aloud, saying, "The Lord gave, the Lord took away. As it seemed good to the Lord, so it has happened. Blessed be the name of the Lord." So when all my goods were gone, Satan concluded that he was unable to provoke me to contempt. When he left me, he asked for my body from the Lord, so that he might inflict the plague upon me. Then the Lord gave me over into his hands to be used as he wished with respect to the body, but he did not give him authority over my soul. Then he came to me while I was sitting on my throne, mourning the loss of my children, and he became like a great whirlwind and overturned my throne. For 3 hours I was beneath my throne, unable to escape, and he struck me with a severe plague from head to toe. In great trouble and distress, I left the city, and I sat on a dung heap, worm-ridden in body. Discharges from my body wet the ground with moisture. Many worms were in my body, and if a worm ever sprang off, I would take it up and return it to its original place, saying, "Stay in the same place where you were put until you are directed otherwise by your commander." I spent 48 years on the dung heap outside the city under the plague, so that I saw with my own eyes my children, my wife, carrying water into the house of a certain nobleman as a maidservant, so she might get bread and bring it to me. I was stunned, and I said, "The gall of these city fathers! How can they treat my wife like a female slave?" After this I regained my senses. After 11 years they kept even bread itself from me, barely allowing her to have her own food. And as she did get it, she would divide it between herself and me, saying with pain, "Woe is me! Soon he will not even get enough bread." She would not hesitate to go into the market to beg bread from the bread seller, so she might bring it to me so I could eat. When Satan knew this, he disguised himself as a bread seller. It happened by chance that my wife went to him and begged bread, thinking he was a man. And Satan said to her, "Pay the price and take what you like." But she answered him and said, "Where would I get money? Are you unaware of the evils that have befallen us? If you have any pity on me, show mercy. But if not, you shall see." And he answered her, saying, "Unless you deserved the evils, you would not have received them in return. Now then, if you have no money at hand, offer the hair of your head, and take these 3 loaves of bread. Perhaps you will be able to live for 3 more days." Then she said to herself, "What good is the hair of my head compared to my hungry husband?" And so, showing disdain for her hair, she said to him, "Go ahead, take it." Then he took scissors, sheared off the hair of her head, and gave her 3 loaves, while all were looking on. When she got the loaves, she came and brought them to me. Satan followed her along the road, walking stealthily and leading her heart astray. At once my wife drew near. Crying out with tears, she said to me, "Job, Job, how long will you sit on the dung heap outside the city thinking, only a little longer, and awaiting the hope of your salvation? As for me, I am a vagabond and a maidservant going round from place to place. Your memorial has been wiped away from the earth, my sons and the daughters of my womb, for whom I toiled with hardships in vain. And here you sit in worm-infested rottenness, passing the night in the open air. And I, for my part, am a wretch, immersed in labor by day and in pain by night, just so I might provide a loaf of bread and bring it to you. Any more I barely receive my own food, and I divide that between you and me, wondering in my heart that it is not bad enough for you to be ill, but neither do you get your fill of bread. So I ventured unashamedly to go to the market, even if I was pierced in my heart to do so. And the bread seller said, 'Give money, and you shall receive.' But I also showed him our straits, and then heard from him, 'If you have no money, woman, pay with the hair of your head, and take 3 loaves. Perhaps you will live for 3 more days.' Being remiss, I said to him, 'Go ahead, cut my hair.' So he arose and cut my hair disgracefully in the market, while the crowd stood by and marveled. Who is not amazed that this is Citis, the wife of Job, who used to have 14 draperies sheltering her chamber, and a door within doors, so that one was considered quite worthy merely to gain admission to her presence? Now she exchanges her hair for loaves. When camels loaded with good things used to go off into the regions of the poor, now she gives her hair in return for loaves. Look at her who used to keep 7 tables reserved at her house, at which the poor and alien used to eat. Now she sells outright her hair for loaves. See one who used to have a foot basin of gold and silver, and now she goes along by foot. Even her hair she gives in exchange for loaves. Observe this, is she who used to have clothing woven from linen and gold, but now she wears rags and gives her hair in exchange for loaves. See her who used her own to own couches of gold and silver, but now she sells her hair for loaves. Job, although many things have been said in general, I speak to you in brief. In the weakness of my heart my bones are crushed. Rise, take the loaves, be satisfied, and then speak some word against the Lord, and die. Then I too shall be freed from weariness that issues from the pain of your body. So I answered her, Look, I have lived 17 years in these plagues, submitting to the worms in my body, and my soul has never been depressed by my pains so much as by your statement, Speak some words against the Lord and die. I do indeed suffer these things, and you suffer them too, the loss of both our children and our goods. Do you suggest that we should say something against the Lord and thus be alienated from the truly great wealth? Why have you not remembered those many good things we used to have? If we have received good things from the hand of the Lord, should we not turn to endure evil things? Rather, let us be patient till the Lord in pity shows us mercy. Do you not see the devil standing behind you and unsettling your reason, so that he might deceive me too? For he seeks to make an exhibit of you as one of the senseless women who misguide their husband's sincerity. Again, turning to Satan, who was behind my wife, I said, Come up front. Stop hiding yourself. Does a lion show his strength in a cage? Does a fledgling take flight when it is in a basket? Come out and fight. Then he came out from behind my wife, and as he stood he wept, saying, Look, Job, I am weary and I withdraw from you. Even though you are flesh and I a spirit, you suffer a plague, but I am in deep distress. I became like an athlete wrestling another, and one pinned the other. The upper one silenced the lower one by filling his mouth with sand and bruising his limbs. But because he showed endurance and did not grow weary, at the end of the upper one cried out in defeat. So you also, Job, were the one below and in a plague, but you conquered my wrestling tactics which I brought on you. Then Satan, ashamed, left me for 3 years. Now then, my children, you also must be patient in everything that happens to you, for patience is better than anything. After I had spent 20 years under the plague, the kings also heard about what had happened to me. They arose and came to me, each from his own country, so that they might encourage me by a visit. But as they approached from a distance, they did not recognize me, and they cried out and wept, tearing their garments and throwing dust. They sat beside me for 7 days and nights, and not one of them spoke to me. But it was not due to their patience that they were silent, but because they knew me before these evils when I had lived in lavish wealth. For when I used to bring out for them the precious stones, they would marvel, clapping their hands, and say, If the goods of our 3 kingdoms were gathered into one at the same place, they would be no equal to the glorious stones of your kingdom. For I was more noble than those from the east. But when they came to Alcetis, asking in the city, Where is Jobab, the king of all Egypt? They said to them about me, He sits on a dung heap outside the city. For 20 years he has not returned to the city. Then they asked about my goods, and the things which had befallen me were shown to them. When they heard that, they left the city, together with the citizens, and my fellow citizens showed me to them. But they remonstrated, saying, I was not Jobab. Since they were all quite in doubt, Eliphaz, the king of the Temanites, turned to me and said, Are you Jobab, our fellow king? And I wept, shaking my head and throwing dust on it, and I said to him, I am indeed. When they saw me shaking my head, they dropped to the ground in a faint, and their troops were disturbed at seeing their 3 kings collapsed on the ground, as if dead, for 3 hours. Then they arose and began saying to one another, We do not believe that this is he. Then they sat for 7 days reviewing my affairs, recalling my herds and goods, saying, Have we not known about the many good things sent out by him into the cities and the surrounding villages to be distributed to the poor, besides those established at his house? How then he has now fallen into such a deathly state?" And after 7 days of such considerations, Eliphaz spoke up and said to his fellow kings, "Let us approach him and question him carefully to see if it is really he himself or not." But since they were about half a stadion distance from me because of the stench of my body, they arose and approached me with perfumes in their hands, while their soldiers accompanied them, scattering incense around me so that they would be able to approach me. And they spent 3 days furnishing the incense. And when they had come near me, Eliphaz spoke up and said to me, "Are you Jobab, our fellow king? Are you the one who once had vast splendor? Are you the one who was like the sun by day in all the land? Are you the one who was like the moon and the stars that shone at midnight?" And I said to him, "I am indeed." And so after he had wept with a loud wailing, he called out a royal lament, while the other kings and their troops sang in response. Hear then the lament of Eliphaz as he celebrates for all the wealth of Job. "Are you the one who appointed 7,000 sheep for the clothing of the poor? Where then is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who appointed 3,000 camels for the transport of goods to the needy? Where then is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who appointed 1,000 cattle for the needy to use when plowing? Where then is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who had golden couches but now sits on a dung heap? Now where is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who had a throne of precious stones but now sits in ashes? Now where is the splendor of your throne? Who opposed you when you were in the midst of your children? For you were blooming as a sprout of a fragrant fruit tree. Now where is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who established the 60 tables set for the poor? Now where is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who had the censers of the fragrant assembly? Now you live amid a foul stench. Are you the one who had golden lamps on silver stands, but now you await the light of the moon? Where then is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who had the ointment of frankincense, but now you are in straits? Where then is the splendor of your throne? Are you the one who jeered at the unjust and the sinners, but now you too have become a joke? Now where is the splendor of your throne? Are you Job, the one who had vast splendor? Now where is the splendor of your throne?" After Eliphaz finished wailing, while his fellow kings responded to him all in a great commotion, when the uproar died down, I said to them, "Quiet, now I will show you my throne with the splendor of its majesty, which is among the holy ones. My throne is in the upper world, and its splendor and majesty come from the right hand of the Father. The whole world shall pass away, and its splendor shall fade, and those who heed it shall share in its overthrow. But my throne is in the Holy Land, and its splendor is in the world of the Changeless One. Rivers will dry up, and the arrogance of their waves goes down into the depths of the abyss. But the rivers of my land, where my throne is, do not dry up, nor will they disappear, but they will exist forever. These things will pass away, and rulers come and go, but their splendor and boast shall be as in a mirror. But my kingdom is forever and ever, and its splendor and majesty are in the chariots of the Father." As I was saying these things to them, so they would be quiet, Eliphaz became enraged and said to the other friend, "What good has it done that we have come here with our armies to comfort him? Look, now he accuses us. Let us then go back to our own countries. Here he sits in the misery of worms and foul odors, and yet he is piqued at us. Kingdoms pass away, and so do their sovereigns. But as for my kingdom, he says, it shall last forever." So Eliphaz, arising with great consternation, turned away from the deep sadness and said, "I am leaving. We came to cheer him, and yet he demeans us in the presence of our troops."